And welcome back to another edition of the Preds video recap as the Nashville Predators claim their fourth win in a row, defeating the Calgary Flames by a score of 5-3. And oh look, the whole gang is back once again.
Yep, it's been a while. Maybe I should contact Gary Bettman to make sure the schedules fit with our schedules. It's good to be back. I wish I could have been doing the rest, but definitely was excited to know that I would be able to cover this one.
Before we talk about that very dramatic game that just happened at the Saddle Dome, I did want to pass along 2 hours before the Preds Flames game started. This guy, Jordan Cimini, announces his retirement from the National Hockey League after playing over 700 games in the NHL. Preds fan favorite Jordan Cimini hangs up the skates. What's your thoughts, Ryan?
I mean, as a fan of the Preds, growing up, I always loved going around listening to the tutu whistle. My mom didn't let me get one because she knew that I would be annoying with it. But it was always fun the environment whenever he was on the ice was just crazy. And I mean, maybe not a goal scorer, but he definitely was electrifying to the Preds fans, I thought, whenever he was around.
So for the people that don't really know about my hockey story, I really didn't get invested into hockey until the 2009-2010 season when the Nashville Predators lost their first ever playoff series against the Chicago Blackhawks in 6. But even before that, you really knew who Jordan Cimini was, even if you just showed up to like one game in general. Jordan Cimini was pretty much that enforcer. And with that being a dying breed in today's game, you know, he had a heck of a career. Like over 700 games for the style of hockey he played. I mean, that is quite a career he carved out for himself. So congratulations to him. All right, now to that high drama fest that was the Nashville Predators versus the Calgary Flames. That started in the first period, like the first minute. Goal scored by Ryan Johansson. It was a nice give and go there between Johansson to slide that puck along the back wall, and then Philip Forsberg getting towards the corner, centering out in front for Johansson, and bang, 1-0 for the Preds over the Flames at that point in the game.
So after the Preds' 3-day off period, I was expecting them to come out a little bit slow, but they exceeded my expectations. And I mean, like you said, within the first minute, they had a beautiful connection between Forsberg and Johansson. It's a pretty deadly duo. The whole lines can score, but it just showed Mike Smith, hey, that shutout didn't really matter. We can still score on you.
Yeah, you couldn't have picked a better way of starting the game for the Nashville Predators. Just a perfect start for them right off the hop to get that 1-0 lead. And then also throughout that first period, from pretty much the 2:07 mark when the Flames got their first shot on goal in the game to the 18:43 mark in the first period. That was between 16 minutes and 36 seconds from their first shot on goal for the Flames all the way to their second shot on goal, which the second shot on goal ends up in the back of the net. Johnny Gaudreau once again gets another career point against the Predators off a perfect passing play from behind the net, finds Elias Lindholm, and Lindholm beats Pekka on the near post.
Maybe it's just me, and maybe it was different to Pekka, but I do think that 16-minute span without a shot maybe affected, maybe it's part of the reason that went in is because, I don't want to say Pekka was cold, but that's a long span of time to go without a shot on, so maybe it just caught him a little bit off guard. I'm not sure. It was a beautiful goal, though.
I think you definitely have a point there is that, you know, Pekka, you know, normally he's had to get, at least in these last few years, he's had to get used to seeing, you know, less pucks going towards him because, you know, in the past, especially, you know, in the Jordan Cimini, might as well bring up Jordan Cimini since, you know, today was his announcement of his retirement. When he was playing for the Preds, Pekka got used to, you know, seeing a lot of shots towards him. With this current era of Preds defensemen, he's had to get used to seeing less shots going towards him. But yeah, I mean, 16 minutes and 36 seconds, that's definitely not a very ideal situation for Pekka Rinne. And then also, you have to respect Johnny Gaudreau there. Pekka's got to be aware of what he's going to do with the puck. And, you know, he showed that creativity, you know, being able to make that pass from behind the net, pretty much from the side. And then Elias Lindholm, right in that left circle, was able to get that one-time shot off, and it beats Pekka there pretty much in the midsection. Then the second period started, and pretty much for the Nashville Predators, I think the one thing that we could say on the good side of that second period was the Fiala-Turris-Smith line. Kevin Fiala, he's had a really rough start to the year. He had no points going into this game, but was finally able on the Preds' second goal to get his first point off a great forecheck, was able to force a turnover in the Flames' territory, was able to get the pass off to Kyle Turris. Turris finds Craig Smith towards the left side. Smith goes from forehand to backhand and then snipes it top shelf past Mike Smith for a 2-1 score.
If you're Craig Smith, you're just putting that in the highlight reel because that was a nice goal. Go ahead for the time. Didn't last for too long, but hey, go ahead's go ahead.
Also, one thing to add after that goal was that Kyle Turris extended his point streak to 3 games now, and then also forgot to mention in the first goal was that Ryan Johansson now has a 4-game point streak after his first goal that was scored. So pretty much this, the 1-2 punch down the middle of the ice for the Nashville Predators has really showed up offensively now with these point streaks.
Having a 1-2 punch in this league is detrimental, I think. I'm not saying that Johansson and Turris are Crosby Malkin, but it's a pretty good punch for a lot of teams to face, and it's going to win you a lot of games if they can get going.
As you, the viewer, watched the game, pretty much it was a back and forth tussle, pretty much. As you saw the first goal by the Preds, and then the Flames answer. The Preds answer back to the Flames' first goal in the first period, and then once again, the Calgary Flames answer on the power play, Matthew Tkachuk tipping one past Pekka. But then the Preds have an answer of their own, and that answer comes from Kevin Fiala, his first goal of the season. Huge goal on the power play, and you got to think pretty much in this game that Kevin Fiala, it's definitely got to be a shot in the arm for some confidence for him.
Who was that penalty from that set up the shorthanded for the Flames?
James Neal, the real deal.
Is there bad blood? I don't think so. I'm with the announcers that talked about it in the game. If you watch the replay, it looked completely incidental, but it's a little bit ironic that it's against his former team.
Well, and also it was really interesting that, earlier in the period, as you brought up, Saul Maki and Neal really got into it. Something that Saul Maki did to Neal, I didn't get to see it necessarily, but it really irked James Neal to where you saw him pretty much. It looked like he kind of gave him a little bit of like a cross check to the face a little bit, and they were just in a kind of like a little bit of a New England Town Hall meeting between one of the two. When he was skating towards the bench, he was still yapping, and it was interesting that minutes later that James Neal high stick this. You saw, it was probably accidental, but it was interesting that it was those two again that got into each other. That penalty ends up leading to the Kevin Fiala goal, and then Mika Salomaki had to leave the game, but he did come back in the third period, so that's definitely some good news for the Nashville Predators.
In the next play, Derek Ryan's straightening it up ice, crosses it to Sam Bennett, which in turn really throws Pekka for a loop and out of the goal. Probably the most out of position you're going to see Pekka Rinne. Sets up Sam Bennett for the most open goal that you can have with the goalie in the net. As he buries it, Kevin Fiala rams into Pekka. You kind of see an awkward interchange after the fact, and on first viewership, I thought that Fiala was the reason that Pekka was out of position. You go back and look at the replay, and Pekka was already out of position.
Yeah.
Pretty bad. Doesn't let up any other goal, but he does have to get pulls. As we saw from that, Juicy Saros, right after coming in, looked good. Made some miraculous saves.
Injuries are going to happen in a season. They're going to happen. If there was one position that you hope that you don't have any injuries, you hope it's at the goaltending position. If you're the Nashville Predators, if you're David Poile, if you're Peter Laviolette, if you're anyone in that dressing room, you hope that, that it's not serious with Pekka. Because we do remember what happened, in the 13-14 season when he was out for the majority of the season. Now, granted, they're in a better position goaltending-wise than they were in 13-14 when they had to rely on Carter Hutton, Marek Mazanec, and then, of course, Devin Dubnyk for 2 games. He couldn't even stop a beach ball, I'm telling you. As you were talking about, Juicy Saros came into the game in such a difficult moment, and he made a point-blank save right from the start, and then a little bit afterwards, the most non-controversial off-season signing that the Nashville Predators have ever had in their franchise's history, Zach Ronaldo, speeding down the right wing, snipes one, top cheddar, far side. Not only that, I think the most underrated part about that goal, hurtling over the Flames defender in the process, in a celebration, hurtling over the guy and then celebrating with his teammates. Do you think that that one goal by Zach Ronaldo pretty much justifies everything about that signing?
Let's be real. You don't expect that from him, but if there weren't any names on it, you would think that was a top-level player with the goal it was. Or at least I thought, because that took a lot of skill. I know I didn't think we was going to be talking about Zach Ronaldo at the end of the night, at least not for a goal. But someone that I thought we was going to be talking about even less was Juicy Saros. And I know we've already mentioned it, but I want to say that after that 4-3 lead, the Flames had a ton of opportunities to score, and Juicy Saros really shut them down. Other than the fact that he only played like 11 minutes, you could argue that he deserved to be first start of the game with some of the saves he was making. But if you listen back or watch back to our preview,
PvP,
you will see that we kind of jokingly said that we would talk about empty net goals. Well, that's what you've been watching to see. You're in luck, because Philip Forsberg laid a Phil Nasty empty net goal in, okay?
Filthy, pretty much.
Yeah.
You can pretty much, yeah. F-I-L, pretty much the 3 letters that start his name, and then filthy, yeah. Yeah, I like that one.
Or
but
Phil Nasty.
Phil Nasty can work too.
Phil Nasty, like
Yeah.
Biz Nasty.
Biz Nasty, yeah. Philip Forsberg pretty much put the game in the refrigerator in the Nashville Predators. 4 straight wins. They are now 6-1. And guess what? What, folks? Once again, the Predators are in the lead in the President Trophy standings. So now, our 3 stars of the game are as followed. My 3rd star of the game is going to go to UC Saros. He probably
Ooh.
defensively, you saw a lot of grade A chances from the Calgary Flames tonight. And that game could have been a totally different one if 1 more had went in or 2 more had went in the back of the net. Especially there in the dying minutes of the game. So I'm going to give UC Saros the credit. 3rd star of the game. My 2nd star of the game, Zach Ronaldo. I got to give the man some credit. Whenever he's going to score a game-winning goal. Like, this might be the only time this year that you see Zach Ronaldo score a game-winning goal. And then my 1st star of the game.
Let me guess it. Kevin Fiala.
Kevin Fiala. He's had a really tough start to the season. I mean, he went 6 games without a point. And, pretty much now in the 7th game, he finally gets his first point of the season, and he gets his first goal of the season. This is now going to be my player to watch from this point to see what this game does for Kevin Fiala from a confidence standpoint.
Well, you don't have to wait too long to see how the confidence carries over, because the Preds Canada tour continues in another city that's kind of out in the middle of nowhere, Edmonton. Obviously, having back-to-back games is always going to be a little bit tiring on a team, especially now that Saros played a little bit today. It's not really going to affect him, but he kind of knew he was probably going to be playing tomorrow. I think that Edmonton is probably one of the better teams that you could face, because, of course, they've got a top player in the NHL, if not the top player in Connor McDavid. But after that, they aren't really that. Their depth is not that impressive, which I think will allow the Predators to maybe get a lead and sit on it. If not, win by a couple goals. So I'm going to take the Predators.
Yeah, the Nashville Predators tomorrow will be facing Connor McDavid because, yes, that's pretty much all that is about the Edmonton Oilers. Now, granted, they do have Leon Draisaitl, but I think it is an honest question to ask what type of player that Leon Draisaitl is. I know 2 years ago he was, he made, McDavid and Draisaitl. I mean, you could have said arguably maybe that's the closest thing to Crosby and Malkin, the way that he was playing. He's kind of fell back a little bit to earth, after that season. And then, this year, I drafted him in fantasy hockey. Hopefully he doesn't fall a little bit more down to earth. As you said, sit on a lead. I don't know how you can sit on a lead against Connor McDavid. And if Leon Draisaitl gets going, I think that he can show that he's one of the better offensive players in the league. But like you said, yes, their depth pretty much, especially on the wing, it's not impressive. Yes, they had Kailer Yamamoto get his first NHL goal against the Boston Bruins. If you're an Oilers fan, you hope that you see Kailer Yamamoto pretty much be a regular NHL player and that, he doesn't have to be, it would be nice for the Oilers for him to be like a Calder Trophy candidate, but at least he's chipping in, at least to a certain extent, where it's like, okay, you're seeing some progression here from Kailer Yamamoto, and then also, Jesse Puljujarvi's another guy. In my staff predictions, he was my breakout player this year. I thought, if they're going to play him with McDavid, or at least Draisaitl, that he's probably going to get the puck in those areas that probably he would not get the puck from a guy like Kyle Brodziak. And that should do it here from this latest edition of the Preds video recap.
Yeah, and if we didn't suit your Preds needs as far as information, you can always go to penaltyboxradio.com and look at articles, podcasts, and I think you could also just go back and rewatch our Preds video recaps. Is that right, Jordan?
Yeah, I think they're on there. Don't you think?
Yeah.
Think they're on there? Yeah, of course they're on there.
You can look at my cute face and I guess you'll see that.
I'm Jordan Cimini.
And I'm Ryan Nixon.
And we will see you after Preds vs. Oilers. Welcome back to another edition of the Preds video recap as the Nashville Predators claim their 5th straight win in a row as they defeat the Edmonton Oilers by a score of 3-0. So normally in every PVR, Ryan and I, or just myself, will go over these games in full detail. But since the Nashville Predators have played 8 games, I thought we could take the time to go over a few things of where the Nashville Predators sit at this current moment. Just like UC Saros' first start against the Edmonton Oilers at Rogers Place, it was once again the UC Saros show for the Nashville Predators against the Edmonton Oilers, as UC Saros claims 31 saves on 31 shots, getting his second shutout against the Edmonton Oilers. He has not given up a single goal against the Edmonton Oilers so far in his young NHL career. Granted, UC Saros didn't have to make 46 saves like he did in his first start against the Edmonton Oilers, but nonetheless, the Oilers had a +9 scoring chance differential over the Nashville Predators with 27 scoring chances tonight, and 7 of those having to be high-danger scoring chances that UC Saros had to make some really tough saves to keep the Edmonton Oilers from changing their score from a goose egg to a vertical line. While the Nashville Predators did give up the most scoring chances of any team tonight, they did a great job of limiting Connor McDavid from not being a participant on the score sheet like he usually does, with pretty much their stick checking, and then of course, manning him up when he's trying to gallop to full speed through the neutral zone with their physicality. A stat that the Nashville Predators can be proud about is after this game, the Nashville Predators are now tied with the Minnesota Wild for the lowest point per game percentage given up to Connor McDavid out of all Western Conference teams in the National Hockey League. And now it's time to recap the first 8 games of the Nashville Predators 2018-2019 season so far. The Nashville Predators are currently 7-1, 14 points. That has them up top of the Central Division, and of course, number 1 in the NHL, which if the NHL season was to end today, the Nashville Predators would be earning themselves another one of these President's Trophy banners. The amount of time that the Nashville Predators have been leading in hockey games this season has been 260 minutes and 50 seconds. That is the equivalent of 4 full games, a full period, and 50 seconds into the second period of that 5th full game. The amount of time the Nashville Predators have played in a tied game has been 175 minutes and 21 seconds. That is the equivalent of 2 full games, 2 full periods, and playing 15 minutes and 21 seconds into the 3rd period of that 3rd full game. That pretty much tells you, other than the 43 minutes and 49 seconds that the Nashville Predators have played from behind that was only in the home opener against the Calgary Flames, the Nashville Predators have been, without a doubt, one of the most competitive and best teams in the NHL so far this season. One area of the Nashville Predators game that they need work on the most is special teams. The Nashville Predators currently hold the 6th lowest power play percentage with a 11.1 power play percentage so far this season, and the Nashville Predators hold the 19th best penalty kill, which is at 77.3%. Both of those percentages are at the bottom half of the league. But the good news is for the Nashville Predators is they have 74 games left to fix both the power play and the penalty kill, and they have the talent on both sides of those units to be able to fix those problems so far that they are facing at this moment. But you do wonder, with the Nashville Predators currently at 7-1, if that's currently just not that big of an issue, and that's just something that right now is being swept under the rug until the Preds start losing some more consecutive games, and then that becomes a bigger problem than it probably is right now. One stat that Nashville Predators fans will be so happy to hear is that the Nashville Predators are currently ranked 17th in most penalties taken with 29. They are 18 behind the Colorado Avalanche for the most penalties taken so far in this early season. Granted, it's early and it's 8 games of the season, but it's good for the Nashville Predators to see themselves further down that statistical category, as that was definitely one of their weaknesses, if not their main weakness of last season. From an individual stats perspective, I bet you have a guess on who's leading the Nashville Predators in goals and in points. Oh yeah, it's definitely Philip Forsberg, who is leading the team with 5 goals and 8 points. But one player I don't think personally I've given enough credit to so far this season, the 8 games played, has been Mattias Ekholm, who leads all Preds defensemen with 7 points, with 2 goals and 5 assists. And oh yeah, he's tied for second on the Predators with most points with Ryan Johansson. Offensively, he is off to a great start so far this season. But he's also done a really good job defensively, as you saw him tonight being involved with Connor McDavid, limiting him from being a regular participant on the score sheet, as he usually is. And then also, Mattias Ekholm, he's leading the Nashville Predators in shorthanded time on ice. So if I was to give a Nashville Predators defenseman my vote for the Norris Trophy right now at this moment, my vote's definitely going towards Mattias Ekholm. Of course, I'm not going to leave without giving my 3 stars of the game. My 3rd star of the game, I'm actually going to give it to Nick Bonino. Nick Bonino seemed to be involved in every facet of the game tonight, as offensively you saw him complete that give-and-go play with Victor Arvidsson that saw Arvidsson slide that puck straight through the 5-hole of Cam Talbot to give the Nashville Predators a 2-0 lead. But you also saw Nick Bonino get involved in the blocked shots department. His first block shot came off a heavy shot from Evan Bouchard from the point, which stung Bonino a little bit and saw him go down the tunnel. But he did come back, and then on the next penalty kill in the next period, he had a key shot block against Oscar Klefbom that killed that penalty off. That shows right there what type of team player Nick Bonino is, when he's willing to risk his body by blocking those heavy shots from the point for the greater good of the team. And also, he did lead the team in face-off percentage. So my 3rd star of the game is Nick Bonino. My 2nd star of the game is PK Subban. You had to assume with Hockey Night in Canada building that PK Subban was going to look to shine under the bright lights, and that he did with the first goal of the game, which ended up being the game-winning goal, which started at the Preds blue line when Jujar Kara on the power play had a hard time controlling the pass from the half wall, which then saw PK Subban take away that puck, speed on a 2-on-1, and then, just like a winger, sniping one past Talbot for the 1-0 lead. And then my 1st star of the game, of course, it's going to be UC Saros. You talk about a less than 24-hour turnaround for UC Saros, having to come into a game after Pekka Rinne got injured, pretty much stopped everything that came his way, sealing the Preds' 5-3 win. The next day, finding out Pekka Rinne goes on to IR, and then finding out that Miroslav Svoboda, coming all the way from Atlanta, Georgia, all the way to Edmonton, Alberta, to back you up in the game, goes in between the pipes against Connor McDavid and Yao throwing Leon Draisaitl, and pretty much stopping them, all 31 shots, and of course the 7 high danger scoring chances. My gosh, if Pekka Rinne does not have a significant injury here, I mean, you have to think that both UC Saros and Pekka Rinne are definitely in the running for that William Jennings Trophy at the end of the year for the lowest amount of goals allowed. And now time for the preview for the Nashville Predators versus the San Jose Sharks. This could be the first installment of the Western Conference Final preview in the first month of the season, as both these teams, the Nashville Predators and the San Jose Sharks, seem to be very primed to go all the way this year, and pretty much if they were to rule their divisions, they would then meet each other in the Western Conference Finals, and this is going to be the first game that the Nashville Predators get to face the Sharks with Erik Karlsson in a Sharks jersey. The Sharks had quite a shaky start to start off the season with a 2-3-1 record, but in their last 2 games, they beat the Buffalo Sabres by a score of 5-1, and they beat the New York Islanders tonight by a score of 4-1, so they got to be feeling pretty good about themselves as they're heading into Smashville. Offensively, the Sharks have 4 different goal scorers with at least 4 goals this season, as Logan Couture is the only one with 5, and then Evander Kane, Timo Meier, and Joe Pavelski have 4 of their own. So the Nashville Predators' top 4 is definitely going to have a tall task to stop that top 6 of the San Jose Sharks up front, as they have so many weapons that can burn you, and then even in their depth, guys like Kevin Labanc, Jonas Donskoy, they're capable of scoring goals as well. And that is it for this latest edition of the Preds Video Recap. If you need more Preds coverage, type in that web address, penaltyboxradio.com, click the link, you'll find all the Preds articles on there, all the Preds podcasts to listen to, and of course, those Preds Video Recaps are going to be on there as well. My name is Jordan Cimini, and we will see you after Predators vs. Sharks.